Moultrie County Sheriff Chris Sims says we may never know what caused the accident that took the lives of 5-year-old Tyson Mendoza and 56-year-old Lori Samples, but what can be done is to make some traffic changes.
For some unknown reason, as of this time, it's not been determined, a vehicle stopped at the stop sign and then proceeded eastbound in front of a southbound school bus.
And that led to the unfortunate crash.
Yes.
With the goal of making the smiles of this country's veterans shine just a little bit brighter. What other things do you plan on doing now you have your pearly whites? Are you going to smile more?
Well, I hope so.
It was a busy day at Lakeland's dental hygiene facility today. His owner said he had parvo, a virus leading to malnourishment, though Coles County Animal Shelter Warden Julie Dieters says she's not buying it.
It's negative.
It's negative? So what actually happened?
I believe this dog's been starved. It ate a whole bowl of food. It's never been taken to a vet. And this is what happens.
She has spoken to Eastern Illinois University President David Glassman about the flag proposal, which would be put right below the American flag in the Southern Quad on Eastern's campus. While she says Glassman did raise concerns about the flag, she says he was more than willing to listen. Alert, lockdown, inform, counter, and evacuate. Those are the skills EIU Police Chief Kent Martin says are important when defending against an active shooter situation that could happen anywhere.
It's happening very frequently, and it's happening in all types of venues. Houses of worship, medical settings, office settings, education settings. There's really no place that is immune.
Martin's department conducted active shooter training at EIU's Physical Science Building Thursday, a training that included barricading techniques and gunshot simulations that Officer Anthony Ho says are necessary to demonstrate real situations.
I'm a 20-year Army guy. I've done a lot of training. And one of the things that good quality training does is it brings you to the realest moment as possible without causing injury or damage to your soldiers or the people that are being trained. But you want that realistic as possible moment.
While this training used simulated gunfire, Martin says it wasn't to scare the attendees, but to train them.
We don't want them to be paralyzed with fear, where they obsess about being involved in something like this or being caught up in something like this. But we want them to think about it and have worked through things in their own mind and tried to psychologically prepare themselves for what they might be able to do.
Training was open to the public as well as EIU students and employees, and the next training session is scheduled for January. In Charleston, I'm Parker Valentine for WEIU Newswatch.
And while Poppy seems to have captivated Central Illinois, she's not the only animal in the area who suffered horrible abuse.
I went to the Coles County Animal Shelter yesterday, where workers there say abuse happens everywhere, even in our own backyard. This is Shep. He's 4 to 6 months old and harmfully neglected. His owner said he had parvo, a virus leading to malnourishment, though Coles County Animal Shelter Warden Julie Dieters says she's not buying it.
It's negative.
It's negative? So what actually happened?
I believe this dog's been starved. It ate a whole bowl of food. It's never been taken to a vet. And this is what happens.
And Dieters says what happened to Shep could have been avoided, just like many other cases of animal abuse.
Don't be afraid. If you see something that you see is not right, let us know. It may be nothing, but someone's had to see this dog, and to let it get to this extreme, that's sad.
And although it's sad, Dieters says this isn't out of the ordinary.
It happens a lot more than what you think. To this severity, probably maybe 10 a year. We've seen multiple, different situations. In 07 we had, the Rose case with all the neglected and abused horses. We have hoarding situations. So it just depends.
The sounds of construction ring out along Broadway Avenue, reminding business owners of street improvements soon to be complete. Mattoon Public Works Director Dean Barber says he's very excited about the project.
We're improving the downtown area. redoing the sidewalks, putting in ornamental street lights, brick boulevards. The existing sidewalks are in need of replacement. We're also sprucing up the look of the downtown area.
Someone who will benefit from the improvements is Howard Shores.
Beautiful ring.
Thank you.
Shores' jewelry business was destroyed by a major fire on March 21st. It's in a temporary location now, but will remain downtown.
I'm a downtown person, so I'm going to stay downtown. And our customers are loyal. I had customers waiting for me to get reopened to work on their jewelry. You know, we've been downtown since 1948.
Shores says he takes pride in his community's identity, an identity that Barbara says is important to see even from the highway.
It's important to draw attention, to have an identity, to be able to see that there is something there worth visiting. And what this does is it captures a view from the highway for those passing by.
And Barbara says the work will be complete by the end of the year. The Lincoln Fire Protection District has a new engine at their disposal with technologically advanced features and multiple uses. And since Saturday, it's already seen some action. Lincoln's Fire Protection District has its new multi-use fire engine, and Lieutenant John Potter says this upgrade is primarily about safety.
Over the 20 years that we've had that truck in service, there's been several safety upgrades that DOT and NFPA have come out with that clearly make this a safer truck than something that was on the road 20 years ago.
Part of the safety improvements were making the engine more technologically advanced.
Now there's a lot of digital features, including just a computer screen where the driver can actually operate all functions within just a hand's reach, including the lights off the rear, the generator on top, and several different functions.
And this engine isn't just used for fire suppression, but multiple emergency services.
So it kind of has that blended fire, rescue, and EMS all in one truck. And we've set it up to where fire's on one side, EMS is in the cab, and rescue's on the other side. So it's very compartmentalized, and we've gained a lot more room with this truck, and really going to serve a big purpose for the district.
The truck was activated Saturday by a ceremonial push-in, and that big purpose Potter mentioned is already being served.
Potential semi-fire up on the interstate that luckily the driver was able to put that out before we arrived. There's been several auto accidents, and I believe even an EMS call that it's ran on. So we've kind of, floated that full spectrum of the calls since it's been in service since Saturday. So been a busy truck already.
As we mentioned, the truck was put into service Saturday with a pushback ceremony, a long-standing tradition in the fire service where the truck is pushed into the station by the firefighters. Fall is in full swing here in Illinois. The leaves are changing colors, jackets are back in fashion, and it's election season. Eastern Illinois University takes part in a program offering the chance for Coles County residents to vote early. Teresa Sims is a Coles County election judge and assists in early voting. She says the program helps those who can't vote on Tuesday.
You never know what's going to happen on Election Day. You may have something come up. So what you can do now with early voting, you can just go out, come and get it done, and then you don't have to worry about it on Election Day.
Election Day is something Kai Hung truly appreciates. He's a professor at Eastern's biology department. Hung grew up in Hong Kong, China, and says gaining American citizenship has given him great appreciation for democratic elections.
When I was growing up, I lived in Hong Kong, and we didn't have direct elections. So all our politicians were appointed. So now that I'm an American citizen, I really appreciate the opportunity to vote for the politicians who make decisions that affect our everyday life.
Everyday life for John Morris was politics and public service for most of his adult career. Morris, now a political science instructor at EIU, says Americans need to remember what unifies us.
It's always important to vote. And I think one thing that a lot of us miss out on is we're all on the same team. And I wish we would act more like that.
Morris says he left politics to educate students, just like Emmanuel Aiku, a graduate student at Eastern. Aiku says he believes his vote always matters, although some in his generation may not believe it.
I know, you feel like, what is one little old me going to do in order to change the world? And I feel like by just taking the chance, because you don't know, your vote may be the thing that tips the scale.
Early voting at EIU is complete after 3 days at the Martin Luther King Student Union. Polls in Charleston on Election Day open at 6 a.m. In Charleston, I'm Parker Valentine for WEIU Newswatch.